Good. So I'm going to do my Sunday market breakdown now, and I'm going to start off with the DXY, and then I'm going to make my way through my watch list wildcards. And I do have crude oil on watch as well this week, so that's pretty sick. And yeah, wicked, cool, amazing. So DXY, keeping it really simple, following up from probably each week we've been looking at it now. We did have a bit of a sell-off this week, last week, which was pretty nice. However, we're still in this sort of, let's say, trickling momentum where we broke this sort of inflection point, but we kept on going. We did pull back ever so slightly. However, I believe this could be a pullback for a middle section confirmation towards the upside. So this could be a great place for us to be looking to enter the market. I think there's definitely the potential that, this could happen as well, where this could just arc back around, come down, and then go. So bearing in mind that is also a play that I'm looking at. But if I'm going to be looking to take this long and we are going with the DXY, then, looking at a few of the other US pairs as well, this could definitely be a high probability sort of setup right now. So we're looking at this push up, we're looking at a flag in this area here. Could either be a smaller flag within this zone, or it could come down, pull down to this, probably around about this inflection point, and then pull off, and that could be the go. But even so, it doesn't really matter. As long as we have that confirmation that the DXY is running, there's going to be an abundance of opportunity. So what I do really like about this is we have this middle section, we have this sort of corrective leg down. It's slightly impulsive, but there is some sort of structure in there, and now we start pushing away. So if we can get some continuation from this, that would be amazing. So that's basically it for the DXY. Looking at some very good bullish pairs on the US dollar pairs. Next one I've got here is the JP225. There's no other reason but just monitoring it because we're looking at the yen pairs as well. Obviously, I've only got one yen pair on watch, but for me, it's more so about learning at the moment with the Japanese yen pairs, as I said in a few of my videos. So essentially, how I'm looking at this right now is, it's definitely in this sort of trickling momentum. I'm not too concerned with how it's moving. I just can kind of see on the higher time frame that, you know, how we've moved is essentially, this is the very beginning. No, this is a bull flag. Essentially, this could be sort of just momentum building up for a stronger move up, which would make sense. I mean, obviously, we can move towards this point and reevaluate, but more so, I'm not too worried. I think at the moment, I'm looking at this as some sort of structure in here to potentially move up to only move down, because looking at some of the yen pairs, it looks like we will be having a sort of bull run at the moment. And if we get that bull run, we can look at sort of inflection points around about here, 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 and then here. And then I think, at one of these points, we could see some really good profit to be made. So definitely going to keep my eyes on the JP225 and just see how the other yen pairs are correlating, and then basically just try time my entry really well. But that's it for the JP225. Sick. So jumping straight into the watch list. Um, Essentially looking at Euro AUD, on the high time frame, it's looking pretty good. We've been moving down in this sort of impulse correction, continuation, and so forth. What I do like is that we are in this expanding, but at the top of the expanding. Now, I do know from experience with expandings, you know, when we do get an expanding at the top of an expanding pattern, sometimes it doesn't form as a reversal, it forms as continuation. So I am being aware that, this can potentially go up further and we could be moving towards, a much more higher target. However, looking at a few of the euro pairs as well, if this does sell off, it's going to be a great trade, really and truly. So I'll be looking for a little bit more structure on this particular trade, but I have kept it on watch because I think it will be a phenomenal trade to catch, and to be involved in, especially so high up in the run as well. But even if I miss that trade, there's going to be an abundance of opportunity if we do start selling off. There is a lot of euro news coming up as well next week, so RBA interest rates, inflation year on year, GDP growth, and so forth. And then there's a lot of US news as well, which correlates with the Euro USD, and unemployment rates of the euro and so forth. So there's a lot of news which can cause a lot of volatility in this upcoming week. So I don't know if I'll be looking to take a trade in the beginning of the week, but definitely towards the end of the week. I think that's when my setup should be somewhat ready. But a lot of data can change with this volatility. So at the moment, I'm going to be very patient, but you know, with the volatility, we could see ourselves revisit this low. And if we do revisit this low, we kind of just change from an expanding into something else, we might revisit it. But at the moment, going to stay extra patient and be sharp with it, but looking for structure, push down on a flag. It's basically my go-to at the moment for Euro AUD. The next one I've got on watch is EURGBP. What I really like about EURGBP is, despite having this strong impulsive push down, obviously, that's a lot of shorts in there, and that was done over a very, very short period of time. I mean, definitely not something that a lot of traders could have got involved in, I guess, but a lot of shorts in there, and then we sort of corrected back up and then pulled down, and then we've been very, very corrective. However, even so, we see the same thing here. We pushed up, pushed down, corrected, pushed down, corrected, and it's been very corrective. So what I am looking for is sort of rebound, sort of pullback, larger flags and whatnot. So I think looking at this as a potential override, and then there's another override down here. What I want to be doing is being sharp in these areas, because we could simply see price either just tap into that and push back up. But I would like to see a break of this trend. If we can see a break of this trend and a flag up here, this could be great. I wouldn't really be interested in entertaining anything in this area here, but more so if we can break out, create some sort of continuation from the flag, that'll be more so what I want to get involved in. So definitely going to be keeping EG on watch, and I think yeah, keep that one quite simple. That one could be around about Tuesday, Wednesday, but yeah, be a solid trade. The next one I've got on watch is Euro USD. Euro USD is actually pretty sick as well. So we've had this sort of daily structures where what I've been seeing is, you know, the characteristics of this is we kind of create these daily structures and we commit. So I've been looking at these daily structures and analyzing them quite carefully. And what I tend to see is that we get this extra scoop towards the end a lot of the time. It doesn't have to happen, doesn't always happen, but it's been happening quite a lot on this trend down. So I'm looking for this sort of impulsive scoop up. Now we have a lot of volatility expected over the course of the next couple, yeah, next week. Could we see a little scoop back up before we go down? Hence the reason why I've just marked in this sort of inflection point, come back up here, scoop there, come down, meet with that inflection point, but doesn't have to happen. More so, more interested in this flag. Obviously, not going to take any trades until after 10 a.m. Only reason being is, apologies, there's a GDP growth rate, year on year, and inflation rate. So I'm going to more so wait for those, and then when that comes out, hopefully that'll cause some volatility. It'll go up. Then I'll look for some sort of flags on the way back down. Um, Sort of game plan I'm looking for. We can always come back up, scoop double top, meet with the DXY prediction as well, and then go from there. So there's a lot of different variations on the table, but I think if there is going to be a good trade, definitely looking for a larger flag with some structure in it, and that'll be more sort of a play that I'm looking for. Could this form into a two-touch and just come here and sell off? Absolutely. Would that be something that I'm more than happy to miss out on? Yeah, I guess so. I'll look for another flag on the way down, but at the moment, it's really nice that we have this sort of 1, 2, 3. We have this override. This doesn't hold extremely high probability, but looking at it on a daily, definitely looks like a solid trade to want to be in. So yeah, really excited about that. Really happy. That's Euro USD. Next one is GBP Aussie. So GBP Aussie on the daily's been moving back up to this inflection point, but very impulsively. We did have a near miss to this low, which could be an indication that we can still pull back and go down lower. How we might get there might be very corrective, or we might move as quick as we moved up, but most probably corrective, because we'll be looking for reversals in that area as well. But the majority of this move will be in a very good area to get involved. So looking at it on a daily, we did move up impulsively, but it got a bit corrective and then moved up again and corrective. And now it's just more so neutral. I think looking at it on this sort of perspective, it does look more corrective than impulsive. So for that pure reason, I definitely the short is sort of triggering, and I'm seeing this as a 1, 2, 3 sort of leading structure over here, which I do like. I do think that getting into these sort of structures is good. We have a nice little middle section. We have the third leg being impulsive, which isn't uncommon, and then now I'm just looking for a structure to develop on the lower time frame, which is the hourly chart. This could take a few days to match up. It could take a day. So I've got it on watch, because by Monday evening, by Tuesday, ideally, it'll be ready. and I'll be getting involved in probably the push down and the flag. Even if we do get a structured approach here, I'm not really too concerned on a risk entry, more so push down on the flag. So that's it for GA for me. Next one is New Zealand Swiss. It's a bit of a different one to have on watch, actually, to be fair. I haven't really taken any trades on this one before, so it'll be somewhat of an interesting one for me. So we've been moving up very correctively to this sort of inflection point here. This doesn't have to be the line in the sand, but it definitely seems like, if we are going to be selling, well, yeah, we have this massive missing gap here. We did have this low before the volatile spike over here. However, I do think that we will come in and fill that. So we can still move up further before we come in and fill it. But I think at this point in time, there's a few confluences that I'm looking at. So first one I'm actually thinking about is obviously this sort of section here. We've come into this sort of trend zone here, and I think we're coming back to retest test that. We can still just continue in this sort of trickling momentum. Um, and make our way back down. So definitely an area I want to be involved in, because these selling opportunities, honestly, when you get in a sell on this pair, it's really good. So yeah, so how we've been moving on the daily is also very corrective. So looking at that as the potential override, could even be up here somewhere, but more so just focusing on where we are now. It is trickling. So I am aware that this could take till Wednesday, Thursday to really play out, but I want to see a solid push away, continuation in terms of structure, boxed in a range, and then I want to take an entry in there. Even if it's a reduced risk, I wouldn't be too bothered, because um, once again, it's more about experience in this trade to me, and I think taking it with about 27 pip stop loss, I'd still get involved in that, because the earning potential is exponential. Even to this low, it's around about 8%, and then to here, it's about 16. Probably some abundance of opportunity in there as well, and then the refinement as well, that there's going to be so much opportunity in there. So those are the sort of trades I want to get involved in. Definitely looking for some larger structure here, be monitoring it at that low, getting a bit more aggressive, but more so, this is the value area for me. So that's New Zealand Swiss. Next one I got is one of my favorite pairs, if not my most favorited, is USDCAD. Really enjoy having this one on watch a lot of the time. It's just one of them pairs that I really enjoyed, perhaps maybe because of the extensive back testing. But so what we have is this is definitely not fully confirmed, but we have we take it as a 1-2, or if you want to kind of go a little bit inside it and kind of evolve it ever so much, you could say it's an expanding, um, sorry, a bull flag, just with a slight angle. But I'm not really looking for that level of perfection. I'm more than happy to just take it for its absolute. And yeah, so essentially looking at this sort of high value area. So this is the zone that I'll be looking at, and we did have a near miss to it if we look ever so close, and we also had a near miss to the low here. So we can gravitate to these two zones, but I think at the moment, with the momentum we're seeing to the high, I'm more interested to see how we get to this high over here. So right now, what we have is we're at this sort of inflection zone, and as mentioned, we don't have to go up here. We can actually still come back down here before we go up there, but it's probable that we are going to come up here now. I think it's just how we get there. So looking at this on the daily, and I'll just remove this weekly line, which was the inflection point for simplicity. We came down correctively to this touch here, and then we had a solid push away. This does look like a morning star on the daily as well, which holds more weight, and then also it seems like we're creating continuation to the upside. So what I would like to see is this corrective price come back to this low push up and then present a flag in here. Would I be entertaining this trade? Possibly. I mean, it's one that I think I will weigh up at the time. I think it does hold some probability to it, but then because we're in this sort of corrective price here, I just don't want it to evolve ever so much like this and then comes back down, scoops for another bottom before it goes up. Whereas I think something in this sort of region here, which could play out probably probably towards later, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. But I think I'll be more than inclined to want to wait till Tuesday, Wednesday for a trade now, not just jump on something on Monday, because there's an abundance of opportunity. So I think Tuesday, Wednesday, if this flag forms in over here above all of this price, I'll be more inclined for that trade. So this is not the trade I'm going to look for. Um, this is just a trade I'll be monitoring, but it'll be nice to see this play out. And then if we push up and we create a flag even further, fine, it's not a problem. It might be a little bit larger, but there'll be some structure in it, and I'll be able to capitalize in that. And the risk reward is also exponential. So, I'm looking at that. Also, looking at this as the left shoulder, right shoulder, head and shoulders. Could we pull up back up here, double top, and then come back down to that? It's all more inflection zone. Absolutely possible. Especially because we're trading on that inflection zone there. So that's something I am looking at before we create some larger sort of structure towards going further. But at the moment, with all that corrective price there, that impulse and this, I think that's enough for us to still continue further. We do have quite a bit of news next week as well on the US related pairs, especially Canadian pairs as well. For the Canadian pairs, we do have the unemployment rates as well. We have, PMIs and a few other stuff. But for US dollar related stuff, there's just a lot of news that's going to create some volatility on the US pairs. So this could be very positive for the bullish run. This could be it could also come back for the double bottom we're expecting on the DXY as well. Obviously, there's a lot that we're looking at. We're either looking at it just committing and going further, or pulling back down, or we see something completely different. So obviously, being on my management game, but knowing what I'm trading into as well is really important. So following from that, we're going to jump into the wild cards now. So Aussie Swiss on the weekly is looking pretty good. We did have this sort of pullback. I think I'm seeing a larger flag. Obviously, impulse correction, continuation to the downside. Probably test this low, which is the major inflection zone before the low. So that's something that I am interested in. I'm seeing this come in as structure, middle section, 1, 2, 3. Keeping it very simple. We got a nice little override over here, which I like. Do we have to reach that point? No, absolutely, we can go further, but this is the middle section to go further. There'll be a trade in here that I'll be interested in. This would be the counter trend trade I'll be taking to the high, and then when we get there, I'll reevaluate if we can create some ending structure on the lower time frame. Great, then I'll be looking to exit my position somewhere around about here, wait for position to pull back in, create a flag, and I'm back into the trade for the short. And looking at this very corrective price on the way back up, that is something of interest. Would I be more inclined to look for the short? Absolutely. So I may just not take that trade at all, depending on the timing and whatnot, because anything can happen. And then Aussie pairs as well tend to find that they do shape up around about, well, New Zealand pairs mostly, but during Asian sessions. So that's something that I will be definitely considering. And yeah, then third touch back in, and then that's the real trade I'm looking for. So that's hence the reason I've left it on my wildcards. But yeah, I think it's going to be a sick trade. It's going to be really good. We have got some news upcoming as well next week for these pairs: RBA, interest rate decisions, consumer balance, blah blah blah. So some volatility to be expected as well. So I think that's going to be really exciting for the week ahead. And yeah, we'll just see how that plays out. The next one I've got is EUROCAD. I think EUROCAD is really nice. The reason I put it on wildcards and not watch is because it's a little bit further away and it may not play out as well as I see. But I mean, it's got that trickling momentum. It could just kind of trickle and then either come to this override and reject, or just go to the third touch, which I am banking on. So I'm looking at this 1, 2, 3 essentially. Um, and yeah, I just want to see how price gets there. So looking at that as the inflection point, obviously bearing in mind that this is also an inflection point as well for the override to push further and come back in. So, this can be a area of interest as well, just above the override, which is something that, a lot of the time these pairs tend to catch people out like that, because they think they're too focused on this zone and then the structure, and then they're not aware that we have this sort of override before that, which then can lead into something a little bit more like this, and then it's like, oh, so I kind of missed it because I was too fixated on the larger 1, 2, 3, when in fact I had a 1, 2, and then override here and sold off. So that's something I'll be aware of. But yeah, definitely the 1, 2, 3 up here, that's of interest. Trickle, push down, flag, and I'm out. Or if we can go here, push down and a flag. But even so, we might just continue to sell off in euro pairs, which I don't think would be very uncommon. And we might sell, create a flag and just sell. But do I want to be selling here? Something I'll definitely consider, just because I'm looking at this sort of trend here. And if we break out of that and create a flag, I'll be more so looking at that. But at the moment we're not selling from anywhere of major significance. So the sell's not really something of major interest because we can just create something a little bit more complex. So EUROCAD's one to really be a bit smart with, but the real play I'm looking for, and if it doesn't play out, I might just take it off wildcards and not monitor it for the week, or just keep it on the log burner. But yeah, definitely looking for that trickling momentum, come back up here in a short. That's what I'm looking for. Next one I'm looking at is Euro Swiss. I really like Euro Swiss because we did come from a significant weekly low, pushed up. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to reverse from here. The reversal is high probability, absolutely, but something else of interest is the DXY. I mean, sorry, not the DXY, is the other Euro pairs as well. I'm seeing a lot of the Euro pairs definitely showing me some sort of reversal potentials, and I think this isn't one that I think I would really want to be going short on at the moment. But if there's a sort of possibility that this could really commit, then there's definitely a good trade there because this can absolutely come all the way back down before we go up. Would that be very uncommon? No. We are in a strong downtrend, but we have had a significantly good push away. Impulse, very tight correction and strong impulse again. Going on the 4 hour, we did get somewhat level of corrective. We're not really having a majorly structural approach on the 4 hour, but what we do have is this corrective squeeze, push down, and then we're structural squeeze back to the high. There could be enough risk reward in here for this to really play out. So if we push back in, create, let's say a flag, let's say on the break of this, right? And we create a flag over here. And then, we start to, let's just grab this in. And then let's just say we create a flag here. And if we even come in back down to this low, first the inflection point above it, and then this low, let's just take that as a reduced risk. And let's have a little look at it like this in terms of that, let's just say took it as a 14 pip stop loss, to this low. Is that enough to manage it? Absolutely, about 4%. And then we have 7%. And then if we do go further and start creating something a little bit larger, then, you know, then I could be inclined to look at 12%, even that. And then if we do come back to the low, which, is definitely a possibility because there's nowhere to say that, we have to start pulling back up. And I think a lot of people would start going long on this as well. I think a lot of people would want to be going long, but previously I've seen, when price does break this low, it doesn't have to start reversing because we can say that many times. Like price came to this low here, how come we didn't just continue? Price came here, pushed down, how come we didn't continue? It's kind of how we started rejecting, but we are showing good signs of a push away. It's just I think we can go short before we go high, and that's something I'll be looking at and evaluating because can absolutely go a lot shorter. And I think these are sort of very high valuable areas to get involved as well, but definitely one to monitor and be cautious of. But yeah, that's it for Euro Swiss really. Next one I've got is US dollar Swiss. US dollar Swiss I really like as well. We've got this sort of well, if we look at it on the higher time frame, we've not really. It's a very corrective pair, but we've not really come to any significant major low. We basically started correcting back up. And I think, definitely if we are going to eventually go short on this, it could be a very nice short because the sells on US Swiss are actually phenomenal. After just looking at them, if you can catch the shorts on this, like the earning potential is really good. Um, and it moves away pretty rapidly. So, you just got to be smart with your management, but you can really bank some good percentage in my opinion. So what I'm looking at right now is 1, 2, 3, essentially to the high or to the override. The override seems like the most probable at the moment, but looking at this as a 1, 2, 3, push up, flag, and away we go. So could this potentially be the flag to push up here or further with all the news coming up next week as well? If the news ends up becoming very bullish and negative for the Swiss, then I think this is going to definitely be something of interest. The market price itself in now in order for all of that news. We'll have to wait and see. This does tie in quite well, so I'm interested to see what we do if we can pretty much get to this 1, 2, 3, and then I guess get. I'm not really going to be drawing any other lines, but more so interested to see where do we end up. So um, it's a very corrective pair, but we are making our way to this high, and I think that's the high value area of interest. I think we definitely could make it by next week. I think probably towards the end of the week or beginning of next week after that, it's definitely possible. But seeing it here, let's just say, by Friday, we could be at the top of this structure. So that's something of interest. So that's why I left it on wildcards, because I think it's a slow one. It may not play out this week, but it will play out next, or it already be in the play. So that's something of interest. But there could be a nice run for us to get involved here. So definitely looking for some structure in here. And if we get that structure of a 1, 2, 3, 3 touch sort of flag, I'll be involved. Last but not least, US oil. So how I'm looking at this is we're basically moving downwards. We are in a downtrend. We've basically moved from this high value area here. We did have a near miss, but not so relevant. I don't think we're going to be coming up that high anytime soon, unless something really does change in the market. What I'm seeing is we have this sort of potential 1, 2, 3 corrective middle section, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to be looking at this coming back to that third touch at the top. If we can make it back up here and come for that third touch, could even be impulsive and just push a bit higher and come in. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for the very simple push up, push down, flag, and I'm in that trade. So that's essentially it. Doesn't really matter where, how, just looking for that flag. So that's the sort of trade I'm really looking for on this. However, would I take a counter long trade right now? Yes, I would, because the way I see it is we've broken this sort of price, we've broken all of this. Okay, all of this has been broken. Now that middle section is basically, I'm not worried about that no more. Now I'm looking at, okay, if we're going up, how are we getting up? So if I look at this, we came in for 1, 2 touch. 2 touch flag is very common to be having as that's enough, but I'll more so be looking for something like this, because if I do get that, then there's going to be enough momentum in here for me to want to potentially, you know, go up to these points here and then not have to worry about another larger flag for a while. We could then see the sort of corrective larger approach, which would be something of more interest at that point. So um, that middle section for this move could be enough. I want to see that impulse, correction, continuation, correction, please. That's what I'm looking for. So going to keep it quite simple, and yeah, that's basically my gameplay. If that does push off without me, then I guess I'll be more inclined to now wait for the third touch and the push down and the flag. That's basically it. And then obviously bearing in mind that we do have this override section here, so getting involved here, we could just push up, get here, sell off, or get a little bit complex and then push up. So seeing at how this corrective move is here, I wouldn't be surprised if, we do see something a little bit more corrective to that squeeze then, if we're going to go there. So this might correct a little bit longer than expected, and then we might get a push up, and then it just becomes this corrective squeeze to the high, and then I see the sell off. So I'll be evaluating this in a couple ways, but really and truly, I'll be looking at this high value area here, and if we can make it there, that might be pretty nice. So that's basically it for my watch list. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And yeah, I'll catch you on Monday.